Hey everyone, it's been a little while since I've done one of these vlogs. For those of you who haven't been here, my name is Derek Royden. I've just been experiencing some technical difficulties. Hopefully I'll have everything worked out by next week. I hope everyone out there is doing well, enjoying the summer. The weather's been pretty great here in Montreal. I hope it's been great for you. So to get right to today's story, basically, over the last week, I'm sure most of you know that there's been this ongoing kind of crisis at the U.S. southern border, but not necessarily just there. Basically, children who have been coming, most of them are their families are asylum seekers. They're coming from places like Guatemala and Honduras, where gang violence is out of control, and of course government corruption, right-wing paramilitaries, all kinds of problems in these countries. So naturally these people have been fleeing. Now these children have been separated from their parents. Jeff Sessions came out one day and made something that has been going on, I think, for a long time, actually, at least since the Obama administration. He made it a story by saying out loud that children would be separated from their parents if their parents are crossing the border illegally. Thus, they're breaking the law by crossing the border, even though many of these people actually have crossed over and gone to find people from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE in the United States, in order to make their asylum claim. They're still being separated from their children. There's some pretty horrifying audio and then later video footage of the kinds of facilities these children are being kept in, the conditions they're living under, and I mean, it's fairly extreme when you hear children screaming for their parents as they're kept in cages. Now, as I was reading about this, of course, through the week and hearing about it, I came across just a comment on Alternet. Sorry I didn't get the commentator's name. Who pointed to a study called The Nature of Love by Harry F. Harlow. It's a psychological study from 1958. What's interesting about this study, and I think what makes it relevant to what we're talking about right now, is this was a study involving rhesus monkeys that were separated from their mothers. Now, this is, of course, a terrible thing to do. It was in order to study how these monkeys would develop, affection, and how their behavior would develop. Say, for one control group that was separated and completely had no even mother surrogate, because what they did was they built mother surrogates, one out of wire, which was simply just as basically a source of milk, and one out of cloth. And of course, and it actually probably seems obvious to most people listening, the monkeys were attracted to the mother made out of cloth. The nurture part, in the sense of providing milk, was actually less important to the emotional health of these monkeys than the contact with terry cloth covered mother was for these baby monkeys. They found really antisocial behavior developed in the baby monkeys that had no surrogate, or even in many cases just the wire surrogate and not the cloth surrogate. Now you can read this study. I'm going to leave a link to it below. It's really interesting. It's kind of upsetting. He's definitely a man of his time. Harlow seems like he was kind of a jerk, and of course no one wants to hear about any animal being put through these kind of terrible conditions. But I think it does speak to something that's kind of missing from what we're discussing when we discuss what's going on across. Of course it's terrible to pull children from their mother's arms, but it's terrible for really for psychological reasons, for the development of the child, and in looking at this study, you can see that although, like I say, I mean, to most people it's obvious that since it already exists, the proof is there of the damage that this kind of thing does. And we're talking over 2,000 children in the United States. But when we go beyond that, let's look at migration around the world. There's something like 65 million people. Just last week we had International Refugees Day. There's something like 65 million people around the world who are displaced, who are often running in fear for their lives. And children are being separated from their parents in so many places. I've really been heartened to see that people have actually actually taken action, strong action, in shaming some of the people responsible for what's going on the U.S. southern border. And so I hope that this empathy can be extended to children arriving in Europe, to children arriving in Canada, to understanding that, like, without human affection, without love, these children will become what those who hate them so much want them to be, or kind of imply that they are. Now, I'm so glad that the current president in the States has actually signed an executive order, which he didn't really need to do, to stop the process of taking children from their parents. But I think, like, beyond just shrieking about it, as so many people on cable news did, you really need to even look back to 1958, to Harry F. Harlow's study, to see that removing parents from their children is something that simply cannot be allowed. And let me also remind people, Canadians who are watching this, we did this for generation after generation to Indigenous people, when we took children from their parents and put them in residential schools where, okay, they weren't kept in cages, but nonetheless, and they still socialize with each other and perhaps even find, I guess, some affection from their teachers. But we've seen the damage that doing this causes to them. And I mean, if we're ever going to say, never again, let's say it in terms of taking kids from their parents, especially for basically what amounts to a misdemeanor. So that's it for today. I hope everyone's doing great. Sorry, it's kind of a depressing topic, but this is one that just really hit me. Like I say, you can read the study below. There's some stuff in it that's disturbing, but there's also some really great pictures of animals hugging each other. How a rhinoceros baby cuddles with its mother. It's kind of cute stuff. So you might want to check that out. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Should have a new one next week.